everybody in? Hello everybody, Carla here. Hope you're all doing well. I see some new faces, some new names as well. So welcome to Beginner Ukulele. And the Beginner Ukulele class is a little different from Beyond Beginner, because in the beginner ukulele class, which is designed for true beginners or beginners who just want to stay put where they're at for a little bit, so that we would cover the information about the instrument and the different parts of it before we start moving into understanding how tuning and chords and things like that. So for those of you who haven't already, there is at the with the email that you got from ACC Services, there's a link to the Dropbox file that you can download the sheets that are used. I think that the sheets themselves may be commingled with those sheets that are being used by the beginner ukulele class. So I thought what I would do is show you here what sheets we will be working with today, if that'll make it easier for you. Okay? So we have the fretboard notes sheet, and this describes basically the notes that are here on your ukulele. Okay? And it tells you how we're going to be tuning the ukulele. When you're looking at your ukulele and you're looking at this, it's actually upside down. Okay? So the graphic itself has upside down letters. But we will cover that. Okay? Then the next thing, and this is a real important thing for you to have, is the chord diagrams. Okay, so that will help you along, because we're going to be dealing a lot with the key of C. So I'm going to be calling out certain chords to you that are relevant to this. Okay. And then we have beginner strums, and we'll be attending to this throughout the session, okay? And the session is 6 weeks long, so we have 6 segments to each session. We'll be covering different things, just to get you started. All right, so that's one more. And then we have these additional sheets, and they would be color-coded for you in terms of the strings. So we're going to talk about the notes that are on the different strings of your ukulele, okay? And we'll cover that as we go. We're going to start with the notes that are on the C string, which is here. That's the 3rd string. And then the notes that are on the E string, the E string. That's in pink. That's been highlighted in pink, those notes. And then the last one is going to be on the G string. So those are essential for you to get started. All right. So I think that everyone does not have their mics muted, which gives us an opportunity to meet one another. So I'll start, and then whoever wants to pitch in, please do. You know, you're not required to speak if you don't want to. And I have a little monitor that's in front of me. So sometimes it'll show your names, and sometimes it'll show your picture, and sometimes it'll show just the initials of your name, depending on how you logged in. Okay? All right, so again, my name is Carla Fontanilla, and I've been giving these sessions. It started out as just simply beginning ukulele, and then as we moved further out, it was obvious that we needed to maintain beginner ukulele and then have a second session that went beyond beginning ukulele. Everyone that goes to or attends the beginning ukulele, you're welcome to continue with the beyond beginner ukulele session. Okay, so what qualifies me to give this workshop? It might be because I've been playing for so doggone long. I started playing when I was 4 years old, and my dad was my first teacher, and I'm 65, so I've been playing for 64 years. And I come from both sides of my family were musical. So as kids, we played, my cousins and I played a lot of music together, singing, sometimes dancing, putting on little performances for the family on my mom's side. And my dad's side, well, my dad is from Maui. My mom is from Oahu. And on my dad's side, he grew up real Hawaiian, although we're Filipino. But he grew up in the little town of Hana on the island of Maui. My mom grew up in the little, not so little town anymore, of Waipahu on the island of Oahu. Okay, and so music was always surrounding us. And my first instructor was my dad. So he's the one who taught me how to listen to music. And my parents' first gift to me musically was a little plastic ukulele. And by the time I was 7, that plastic ukulele had done its time, so then we graduated to larger instruments. I'm in any number of different bands. You know, bands come and go. And you can't make a living from playing music. I can tell you that. That's the truth. So if you're going to do it, then enjoy it. You know. So that's the reason why I give these workshops, because there is so much to music for us to share. We all come at music in different ways at different times of our lives. But what we all do really truly have in common is that we have a great appreciation for music. And what you don't know, you can learn. We have a natural rhythm, we humans, because really the first beats that we ever heard were probably our mother's heartbeat, okay? And then probably your own. And we continue to have that even to this day. And so that's what we try to build on. What comes naturally to us really are rhythms, right? Just you hear a piece of music and you start to bob your head, or you tap your foot, or you're tapping on the table, that kind of thing. All right? So we try to build on that because, you know, time is everything. Time is everything when it comes to playing music. The other aspect of this is learning how to hear a song If you cannot hear a song, I can guarantee you, you will not be able to play a song. Okay? So much of what I do try to impart, whether it's the beginner ukulele or the beyond beginner ukulele, any kind of workshops that I give, I really try to encourage folks to develop your ear. You must be able to hear in order to play. You have to be able to hear because the information comes in through your ear, gets into your brain, and then your brain tells your fingers what to do. A lot of folks get real frustrated with playing because they allow their fingers to be in charge. It's supposed to be your brain. Your fingers don't have brains. You have your brain up here, and it tells your fingers, your hands, your arms, and really sometimes your ear what to do. Okay? So that's going to be imparted to you too, as best I can do that for you. All right? And let's see, we're going to get into scales too. But we're not going to do it in a real formal way. We're going to do it in a way that you can relate to what we're doing and how you're going to translate what we do into your playing and expressing yourself on the ukulele. Okay? Are there any questions so far from the folks that are in the audience before we get started? Because then I will have to ask you to mute your microphones so that you will be hearing me and you will not be hearing one another, because that's where things get pretty jammed up. So the idea is for me to play and you play along in the privacy of your own home. So it's just you and me playing together instead of all of us playing together, because then literally we will not be able to hear much of anything at all. There's going to be too much noise happening that's being conveyed. The sound, the audio part of these kinds of connections are actually happening faster than the video portion of it, okay? So depending on how stuff is being fed into your homes on your internet connection, if you try to play along with everybody else, everybody's actually experiencing the sound at different moments, different microseconds, okay? So any questions for us before we get started?
I get a static every now and then when you're speaking.
Okay.
Where it's not very clear. It sounds kind of raspy or something.
Okay.
But it interferes with it.
Okay, that might be the placement of my microphone. Hold on, let me move it and let's see if that improves things, okay? Thank you for letting me know.
Also, my computer's updating all the time, and I missed the email with the handouts attached. Is it hard to get through it, or should I leave and try to get into my computer again?
Well, that's going to be up to you. We've got these handouts that will be helpful
Yes.
to you, okay?
Yeah,
But
I know that. I just saw it.
yeah, can you view them on your computer, or you have another computer, or a phone, or a tablet? Some folks do. They do both. I see that sometimes. But if you need a few moments to go print stuff up, then please go ahead and do that. It's not hard for anybody to catch up with what we're doing.
Can I get by today without it? Is it pretty difficult?
No, because one thing to remember is these sessions are going to be available to you on YouTube. So if there's anything that you need to review, you'll be able to do that via YouTube.
Okay.
Okay?
I'll do that.
All righty.
Okay. Can I ask one question? The handouts, were they sent to us on the same email as the link, as the YouTube, as the?
Yeah, the link was part of the email.
Really? I didn't get it, so.
Well, I used the link to get into Zoom. But
Okay.
where would I get the handouts?
Are you okay? Well, it's a link to Dropbox. So
To do
are you looking at the email right now?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
nothing there.
There's no link.
There's no
At
link
the
in the.
top.
Yeah, I didn't see a link either.
Okay. Did anybody see a link in the email? Okay. Everybody's
No,
shaking their
it's not
heads
in
no.
mine.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see it in mine either.
Crystal, can you check? Because if these folks don't have a Dropbox, does everybody have access to Dropbox? It's just a PDF.
It's not on here.
Okay. Hold on.
There's a link on there that just says you can go directly to accorg.online and join a class, but besides the Zoom link, there wasn't another link.
Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna change out my microphone.
Elisa Poon?
Can they go to ACC Services directly and? Or Dropbox, yeah. You have to send them an invite to everything, right? Okay. But they're saying they're not seeing it. They're consistently saying it. Crystal, our
I looked
wonderful
at
technician is
the
going to be
email, it's not
looking at
there.
it. Okay. I don't get copied on the email that goes out, so I don't see it when it happens.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. All right. So hold on for just a second while Crystal resends this information to you. Okay. But in the meanwhile, like I said, you can review the information that we're going to be covering on ACC's YouTube channel. All of my prior ones are there too. Okay. So we can get started by making sure that everybody is tuned correctly. Okay? So why don't everybody just go grab your ukuleles and let's get tuned up.
I'm sorry.
Okay. And then we'll talk about the ukulele. Okay. The first thing that we're going to state here is that the ukulele strings are numbered from the bottom on up. Okay? So string 1 is down here, the one closest to your knee. That's string 1. Okay? So the count is 1, 2, 3, 4. So when we in subsequent sessions, I might say go to string 1, fret 2. So that's string 1 right here on the bottom. Okay? All right. However, when we tune from the 4 string here at the top of your ukulele, and we tune downward. Okay? So the first thing we listen to is this string 4, and each string, as you're going to see in the handout, each string begins with its own key, basically. Okay? So the tuning of an ukulele is G, C, E, and A. G, C, E, A. G, C, E, A. Okay? Growing up in Hawaii, this was, nobody had cell phones. Only your school teacher had a pitch pipe. You were a real dork if you carried a tuning fork around with you. Nobody ever did that. Okay, but we learned how to tune because my cousins and I and our friends, we all played ukulele together. So all we needed to do was figure out which person likely had the best and closest tuning to standard tuning. So that person would say, okay, my dog has fleas. My dog has fleas. So that was the mnemonic that we used. And everybody tuned to that person. Whether it was actually on pitch, we didn't know, we didn't care. We were all the same, okay? So that is something for you to learn on your own. My dog has fleas, okay? Always a good idea. My dog has fleas, and then strum, because that will orient your ear to hearing it correctly. This is what it's going to sound like if it was wrong. Right? That's wrong, and you will hear it and you will know it. That is totally wrong, okay? So when you get used to hearing it and doing it, then your ear is going to tell you automatically that's not quite right, okay? Now, what I want to tell you too, when you're tuning your ukulele, don't be intimidated, okay? This tuning key, these 4 tuning keys, are meant to be turned. When you tune your ukulele, you start with the G. If you have a tuning, one of those little tuners that you can clip onto your ukulele, that's a really good thing. They don't cost much. I mean, I shouldn't say cost much. It's relative. For about $20, you can buy a clip-on tuner. Sometimes people buy ukuleles online, and it'll come with a tuner. One thing to remember about electronic tuners is they oftentimes are not just for an ukulele. So if you have on that tuner a little button that says mode, M-O-D-E, make sure that you've got the right mode, that you're not trying to tune your ukulele to the tuning of a guitar or the tuning of a bass. It's for the ukulele. Usually will say so, okay? All right, so the first string that we're going to tune is a G, to a G. And don't be afraid, like I said, move those keys around, okay? You hear how I'm moving that around? You hear it going up and down. But that's the G that I want. And if it's, just keep turning it until you can match this sound. My, G, 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 my, G, 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 G. Okay? All right. The next string, string 3, is tuned to a C. Now, if you notice on your ukulele, if you have a low G, the gauge of the C string is very close to the low G. Most of you, if I'm not mistaken, have a high G here on string 4. That's what I have right now. I actually use ukuleles with low G and high G. Okay? But the C string is the lowest gauge string. It's also the lowest note. So there's our C, 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 C. My dog, 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 C, 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 C. Okay? So that's string 3, the C string. All right, next one is going to be the E string, E as in epsilon. Okay? Notice that my E is off. It's flat. Now I got to bring it up. There's my E. E, 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 E. My dog has, E, 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 E. My dog has. And then string number 1 is the A string. A, fleas, 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 fleas. My dog has fleas. Okay? Is everybody good? Good. All right, good. All right, so let's talk about the parts of the ukulele. This here, the wood that's on top, is called your tone wood. Your tone wood. It's also called your sound board. All right? It is on the top of the ukulele. These are your sides here. Okay? I'm able to plug my ukulele in, literally for it to be recharged, because I have a reverb and chorus and delay on this ukulele, so I can charge it up. Some of you may have purchased an ukulele that you can plug into an amplifier or a sound system. All right, so you would see that. So this is the back and sides. All right, and then here's the back right here. This is the part of the ukulele that's going to be closest to you. It should be attached to your body when you play. Don't be holding it up like that, okay, or like this, you know. Make sure it's attached to you, because your body has to feel what it's playing. You're not just playing with your fingers or your hands because they're in front. You ought to be playing and acclimating yourself to playing your ukulele with your entire body. This is a stringed instrument that has to be held to your body. Okay? So that's the back side. This here in the front, on the top of this, that goes from this section here all the way and connects to the body of your ukulele. This is called the fretboard. It's the fretboard. Okay? And the fretboard is called that because these metal pieces that you have that are inserted into the fretboard delineate your frets. And if you notice that your frets gradually get smaller and smaller as they head towards their final placement. Those of you with soprano ukuleles, you probably have the frets stop here at the shoulder. Sometimes it goes a little bit past it. Concerts and tenors, you can have, I think mine has 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I have 19 frets total. Okay? Sometimes you see some with 17 frets, some with 15. Just depends on how the designer of the ukulele wanted to lay out the fretboard. All right? Attached to the fretboard, of course, is the neck here. Okay, that's the back of the ukulele. The neck and this here, this is called the headstock, where the tuning keys are placed. Okay, so a lot of times they're holes that are drilled through the headstock. Some of you may have ukuleles that have what we call slotted headstocks, kind of like the classical guitars have a slotted, have slots in here for their pegs. Okay, so the tuning keys are calibrated, of course, to the placement of the strings. So this first tuning key is the one that's going to be used for the G string or your string 4. This one here is for string 3 or your C string. This one here is for your E string, string number 2. Okay, and then this one here on the bottom is for your A string. So the 2 strings on the outside have these 2. The 2 strings on the inside have these 2. All right. Now, the strings themselves, and if you ever have the daring do to go change your own strings, make sure that the strings are wound. let's see, counterclockwise this way on these two, counterclockwise. On the bottom here, strings 2 and 1, they're going to be clockwise. So there's a certain symmetry that you ought to achieve when you string your own ukulele. Or if somebody's going to string it for you, they need to follow this. Okay, they need to follow this particular aesthetic. Okay, all right. This white piece right here, this is called the nut. Don't ask me why they call it the nut. I have no idea. But it's called a nut also for mandolins and guitars, that kind of thing. All right. So what is slotted into the nut, or what we call the course? If most of you are playing a 4-string ukulele, we have 4 courses, 4 individual courses. If you had a 5-string, 6-string, or 8-string ukulele, you still have 4 courses. But you have, for a 5-string, you'd have 2 slits for 2 G strings. 2 G strings, that's 1 course, okay? So you'd have a high and a low G string. If you have a 6-string, it just depends on your preference. Usually it's the string 4 and string 2, I think. So each of the course for the G string would have 2, and the course for the E string would have 2. 8-string, of course, you've got 8 slots for 4 courses. All right, so that's the difference. All right, so the string is coming from here, the bridge. People have different ukuleles. This is a string that is strung from the hole that's drilled into the bridge. This area here, this piece that is affixed to the soundboard, this is called a bridge, right? There are different kinds of bridges. This one is slotted so that I would have to run my strings through the holes that are drilled into the bridge here, and then wound around, and then captured here string-wise. Then you have other types of bridges that are, they'll put a peg in it, okay? Like most guitars, there's a peg that will slot in there. Then there's, more frequently, you'll have a bridge that has slits cut into the wood of the bridge. Little slits. They don't go all the way up, but they're intended for you to make a ball at the end of the string and then slot it into the slit to begin your tuning. Okay. On top of this bridge, most of you will have this piece of white plastic, could also be bone. This is called the saddle. It's the saddle. Okay, just like a horse. Okay, so it's the saddle. The strings sit on top of the saddle, which then sits inside this slot on the bridge. And how do we make the ukulele ring out? Well, the strings are elevated, right? They're not touching the fretboard. They should not be touching the fretboard. If they are touching the fretboard, you have a little bit of a problem because you're going to have this chatter that's going to be on the ukulele. So by raising the strings, because the nut raises the strings here at the headstock, and then you've got the strings raised here on the saddle, in order to stay clear of touching the fretboard. When we hit one of these strings or strum the string or pick on a string, this movement travels from the saddle through the bridge onto the soundboard. Most of your ukuleles, the beginner, the cheaper models, will not have what we call a bracing system or a brace system. Some of you, if you look inside the sound hole of your ukulele, you'll see little pieces of wood running across the inside. Okay? If you don't have it, then you don't have a brace system. Then it's strictly the string running, sounding off of the soundboard, the tone wood. Okay? The reason there are brace systems is to enhance the string sound. It makes the sound stronger. It actually distributes the sound throughout the tone wood itself. Okay? So the sound goes up and down. So when you bring it all together, it's everything resonating. Most of us have a sound hole for the sound to be elicited from the wood itself. So it has a more focused sound. So you got these frequencies that are stretching out over the tone wood. The sound hole allows that sound to escape. Okay? So that's it basically. That's it basically in terms of the construction of your ukulele. A little bit of the history of the ukulele. The ukulele actually got its start from the Azores, which are the islands which belong to Portugal. The king of Hawaii, King David Kalakaua, invited to Hawaii probably close to 300 Azoreans to come to Hawaii and establish businesses there. They're not from the Azores. I'm sorry. Let me step back. They're not from the Azores. They're from Madeira, because they were woodworkers. The word Madeira in Spanish, or in Latin anyway, means wood. So these men were famous for woodworking. And so the king invited them over. They brought with them a little instrument, probably about this big, smaller, about the size of your soprano if you've got a soprano. And it was called a machete. Machete, like the knife, the machete, what we call machete. But the king was very interested and fell in love with the sound of these little instruments and asked the three of the woodworkers if they would try to devise an instrument that would be playable by him. So that was quite an endorsement for these woodworkers, that the king himself would want to play an instrument that was similar to what came from their homeland. Once the king introduced the instrument to his court, then the people began embracing the instrument as well. They say that the word ukulele means dancing flea, but I don't know how true that is. Okay? All right, so we are going to play a couple of chords. Okay, at least a couple of chords, just to get you started. All right, so if we take our ring finger here, and we place our ring finger on string 1, fret 3, and I want you to make sure that you're holding your ukulele. You got your thumb in the back here, behind fret 2, around the section here of strings 2 and 3, and make sure that your thumb is placed here on just a little bit above the arc of the back of your ukulele. Okay? And then place your ring finger here on fret 3 of string 1. Okay? And when we're strumming, if you like to use your thumb or if you like to use your index finger, the area to strum is here at the shoulder, where the neck meets the shoulder. This is your strum zone. Okay, so get used to doing that. We'll cover that a little bit more. Okay? So do a down strum, a downward movement. Okay, that is the chord C. All right, now let's take our middle finger and place it on fret 2 of string 4. All right. All right, so let's strum that one. Strum again here at the shoulder where it meets the neck. Just some downward strums. All right, now I want you to keep your finger, your middle finger, where it's at. Then I want you to take your index finger and I want you to bring that over to fret 1 of string 2. And now we're going to be playing an F. Okay, and let's go back to our C. That was string 1, fret 3. Okay? All right, good. So you just played a song, some random song, okay? So if you look on this sheet and you go to download the forms, you're going to see C here, and there's going to be an F here, and then we played an A minor, which is right here. It's the third one in from the A. It's the third from the bottom. Third from the bottom, third in. That's an A minor. Okay, so you can practice that. Okay, on the sheets themselves, I have my email address as well as my telephone number. So if you want to speak with me, text me first and let me know who you are. Please provide me your name.